Hello, everybody. Before we continue, I first want to acknowledge that everyone is doing such a great job on this class so far, and I really appreciate your engagement and participation, not only in this lecture, but in your milestones and your discussions and your assignments. So let's keep up the great work as we delve deeper into the significance of ethical issues in business, particularly leadership. So today we have a crucial topic to explore: ethical issues in business and their significance in today's ever-changing world. Now, ethical dilemmas and lapses in judgment can present challenging business situations, which require careful consideration, critical thinking, and a deep understanding of ethical principles. To begin with, let's understand what an ethical dilemma in business entails. An ethical dilemma arises when a business faces morally conflicting options, making it challenging for leaders and employees to align decisions with their values and stakeholders' best interests in mind. Now, as highlighted by the Ethics and Compliance Initiative, did you know that 41% of employees reported unethical behavior at their workplace in the past year, which sort of underscores how important and how real the issue of ethical dilemmas in business is. So navigating ethical dilemmas requires balancing personal values, societal expectations, legal requirements, of course, and organizational goals. These dilemmas can occur at any business level, from individual employee decisions to high-stakes corporate choices all the way to the boardroom. Let's explore two examples of ethical dilemmas to gain a better understanding. My first example I want to use is the Detroit Police Department, since many of you have written about that and understand that all too well working there. Ethical dilemmas in recent years regarding the Detroit Police Department, well, they face an ethical dilemma concerning the use of facial recognition technology. So on one hand, the technology offered potential benefits in solving crimes and locating missing people. But on the other hand, there were concerns about privacy violations, racial bias, and potential misuse of the technology. So the department had to navigate this ethical dilemma to balance public safety and protecting individual rights. So to address the ethical dilemma, the Detroit Police Department engaged in open dialogues with community stakeholders, civil rights organizations, and even privacy advocates. They did seek feedback on these policies, which were related to facial recognition technology, and they went out of their way to try to address concerns regarding the accuracy and potential bias. So you see, by involving the public in the decision-making process, those stakeholders are important, and taking their concerns seriously, the department demonstrated a commitment to transparency and responsiveness. Now, a second example is an e-commerce company that faced a dilemma when deciding to sell products manufactured by a supplier that have been involved in a child labor ring. The company must choose between profit and supporting child labor practices. So in this example, the e-commerce company faced a challenging ethical dilemma between financial gains and ethical responsibility to prevent child labor. So to address the dilemma, the company should prioritize ethical sourcing and adhere to responsible supply chain practices. And it can work by conducting thorough supplier audits and assessments to identify any unethical practices. So that way, if there is child labor discovered within that supply chain, the company should terminate its partnership and stick to its own guiding principles and maybe find a new supplier immediately. By publicly committing to ethical sourcing and promoting fair labor practices, the company can then build a reputation for social responsibility and attract consumers who value ethical businesses. But failing to address ethical dilemmas can and oftentimes does lead to reputational risk, reputational damage, loss of trust among stakeholders, legal repercussions, and decreased employee morale. So businesses must prioritize ethical decision-making to navigate these complexities effectively. So next, why don't we delve into ethical lapses in judgment. It's different than a dilemma. An ethical lapse in judgment refers to a situation where an individual or a business makes decisions or takes actions that deviate from accepted ethical standards. Did you know that the National Business Ethics Survey found that 47% of employees reported pressure to compromise ethical standards in their jobs, highlighting the prevalence of ethical lapses in business settings? It's kind of scary, isn't it? 47%, that's almost half of the workforce. Ethical lapses can range from relatively minor transgressions to severe misconduct that have significant repercussions for the business and its stakeholders. So here's a couple examples to gain a little insight. The first one was a food processing company who ignored food safety regulations to cut costs, leading to contaminating products and a potential health hazard for consumers. So this ethical lapse involved the food processing company compromising public health for cost-saving measures. Sad, but we hear this tale like time is told, right? And so to address this serious lapse, the company really should have prioritized consumer safety and adhere to strict food safety regulations. But it can work by implementing robust quality control measures throughout the production process so that all products are meeting or exceeding safety standards. And regular inspections and audits can help identify potential issues proactively. Now, additionally, the company may foster a culture of accountability and to encourage employees to report any safety concerns without the fear of reprisals or getting into trouble. Taking swift corrective action in the case of these kind of violations will really demonstrate the company's commitment to maintaining the highest standards of food safety. So maybe a second example, okay? So let's use Michigan. A manufacturing company in Michigan was found to have violated environmental regulations by improperly disposing of hazardous waste. Do y'all remember that green stuff on the freeways? To address this ethical lapse, the company had to take immediate action to rectify the situation and ensure proper disposal of the hazardous waste. It had to collaborate with environmental agencies and implement stricter waste management protocols. Additionally, the company engaged in community outreach programs to restore trust and demonstrate its commitment to responsible environmental practices. This incident also prompted Michigan's environmental regulators to strengthen the enforcement measures and increase oversight to prevent similar lapses in the future. So you see, these real examples show ethical issues in business extend way beyond typical corporate settings and have far-reaching implications for communities and in the environment itself. So businesses, yes, including law enforcement agencies just like the Detroit Police Department, must carefully weigh the potential benefits and risks of their actions to make ethical decisions that align with societal values and safeguard the public interest. By incorporating real-world cases like these ones I've mentioned and others into our understanding of ethical dilemmas and lapses, hopefully we'll add depth and relevance into the study of ethical issues in business, particularly with leadership. All starts with leadership. As businesses continue to face complex challenges in this ever-changing world, prioritizing ethics and responsible decision-making really always will remain critical because it fosters trust, integrity, and sustainability in the corporate landscape. So moving forward, let's dive into deeper significance of ethical issues in businesses by exploring a couple of critical areas here. The first one is diversity and discrimination and their impact on fostering a positive and inclusive workplace environment. Diversity and inclusion are integral to creating a thriving and productive work environment. Embracing diversity does not only acknowledge differences in race, gender, age, sexual orientation, and other characteristics, but also valuing and leveraging those differences to drive innovation and creativity. When everybody has a seat at the table, you get a better product or a better service. Studies have actually shown that diverse teams are more likely to outperform non-diverse teams, bringing fresh perspectives and ideas to problem solving and collaboration. But diversity is not enough. Inclusion, so important, that word. Inclusion is equally vital. Everybody should have a seat at the table. Inclusion means creating a work environment where everyone feels welcomed, respected, and valued, regardless of their background or identity. An inclusive workplace fosters a sense of belonging, empowering employees to bring their authentic selves to work. When people can feel that they can be authentic, they can really give all of their energy. This in turn enhances employee engagement and productivity and retention. Businesses should actively combat discrimination and bias to promote diversity and inclusion by implementing anti-discrimination policies and providing diversity training that can also help raise awareness of unconscious bias and foster a more inclusive culture. Back to leadership, leaders should be the champions of diversity and inclusion. It really starts there. Visibly supporting these initiatives and holding all employees accountable for maintaining an inclusive environment is absolutely critical. Addressing ethical issues in business goes beyond the organization itself, It does extend to that supply chain, like we mentioned in that example, because businesses should prioritize ethical sourcing and supplier accountability. It should be in alignment. Their suppliers should be in alignment with their values. Conducting thorough audits and assessments of suppliers can help identify and address potential ethical lapses, such as that child labor or unsafe working condition example I gave you. And by choosing responsible suppliers and engaging in fair trade practices, businesses can then demonstrate their commitment to ethical conduct throughout their supply chain. So in conclusion, ethical values in business significantly impact an organization's reputation and its relationships with its stakeholders. As businesses operate in an increasingly interconnected world, ethical considerations have become essential for sustainable success. And by prioritizing ethics, fostering a culture of integrity, and promoting diversity and inclusion, businesses can navigate through the complexities of the modern ethical challenges while building trust, transparency, and long-term sustainability. Once again, I want to commend everyone on their excellent engagement. You guys have been outstanding so far. I've enjoyed reading everything you've submitted. Your active participation, especially in the discussions too, is so appreciated. And I really encourage all of you to keep up the great work as we continue to explore ethical issues in business and how leadership really does provide the framework and the foundation of it all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the discussions.